Hey, Bill Watson here, talking about blood moons today. That's right, this term that's gaining interest and popularity and exposure on many of the mediums that many of us are watching on a daily basis. There's a lot of intrigue also that is building around this term, as well as mystery. And as a result of the mystery, there is some confusion that is resulting. Today, I want to talk to you about some information that isn't necessarily being shared with us by those prognosticators that are advancing the blood moons as something significant or as the harbingers and omens of very horrific events to come, and hopefully add a little bit of balance and perhaps a more mature outlook on this associated term blood moons. For example, let me share this with you. Are you aware that all full moons have names? That's right, all full moons have names. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, many of us, that is the Europeans that came here to North America, adopted just the same names that many of the indigenous Indian tribes that lived here in North America had already previously named the full moon as. Consequently, we've got names of full moons like buck moon, snow moon, we got sap moon, we got hay moon, and we even have, as many of us are well aware, the harvest moon in the month of September here in the Northern Hemisphere. Well, believe it or not, the month of October is named the blood moon. That's right, it's also named the hunter's moon, and some of these full moons actually did have more than one name, but in the month of October here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's called the blood moon and the hunter's moon, primarily because there were no leaves on the trees in the month of October, so the Indians had easy pickings for the deer or the possums or the raccoons that they hunted. Consequently, of course, it was a pretty bloody moon for the animal kingdom because they were able to be, shooting these animals pretty easily. Southern Hemisphere, by comparison, because we all know that it's a mirror image of the Northern Hemisphere, the month of March is the harvest moon, and the month of April is the blood moon. Hence, 2 blood moons per year by name every year for who knows how long by name. All right, but you may say, well, Bill, you're not really being really honest about this. There's a lot more to this blood moon idea and terminology and all of this event that everybody's talking about. And I agree, because there is, again, let me say this, a second item that is maybe perhaps a little bit more intriguing and certainly far more mysterious, and is giving these prognosticators a bit more leverage to provide something to gain attention with. And that is this term, here it is now, ready? Lunar Tetrads. Lunar Tetrads. Now, what's a lunar tetrad? Very simply, it is 4 total lunar eclipses, 6 months apart, spread over 2 years. That's right now. So let me just put it up there on the screen and repeat it one more time. These are 4 total, not partial, total, that's the operative, lunar eclipses, 6 months apart, spread over 2 years. So the question is, of course, well, are these supernatural events, or are they something that just naturally occurs through the normal astronomical rotations of celestial orbs as they go around the sun, in our case the moon and the earth, and it just happens that they time out that way because of those rotations? Well, yes, it is the latter, because the fact of it is, according to NASA, there have been 142 of these puppies. That's right, 142 of these tetrads have occurred over the last 5,000 years, or should I say will occur over the next, over the 5,000 years, because it goes from 2000 BCE to 3000 CE, or AD, if you want to use that terminology. But 142 of them over a 5,000 year period, that's a lot of years. So let's just squash it down to maybe the time of Christ, and we'll say 2,000 years. How many of these tetrads have occurred in the last 2,000 years? 62. As a matter of fact, get this, there are going to be 8, that's right, get it, 8 tetrads in the 21st century. This century, there's going to be 8 of them. And as a matter of fact, I bet you didn't even know this. One has already occurred. In the year 2003 and 2004, we had a lunar tetrad. That is 4 total lunar eclipses. Notice I said eclipses, not blood moons. Eclipses, 6 months apart, spread over 2 years. That's right. And there's going to be 7 more, of which 2014, that is this year, and then next year, 2015, there will also be 2 lunar eclipses in 2014 and 2 lunar eclipses in 2015, 6 months apart. That's a tetrad. There are other total lunar eclipses, of course, but they're not tetrads. They happen here and there and salt and peppered all over the place in the tune of thousands of total lunar eclipses, of which you and I don't even see because you got to be on a certain part of the planet in order to get the right angle. And frankly, do you know that 3 of these total lunar eclipses, part of this 2014 and 2015 tetrad, won't even be able to be seen in Israel? Oh yeah, that's right. Now, I know some of these prognosticators will say, yeah, but Bill, you're not telling the whole story. There's still something else that's far more interesting that you need to add, and I will add that right here because 2014 and 2015, admittedly, is rather unique because these total lunar eclipses happen on the Jewish or Israelitish holy days. Oh yeah, that's right. The first one is going to occur on what is called the Jewish Passover, or the first day of unleavened bread. That's right, it's going to happen on that day. And then the second one is going to occur on the first day of what is called the Feast of Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles. In 2015, the pattern will be repeated again. And some people are leveraging this as something very special, very significant, and as a harbinger or omen of very terrible and horrific events that are going to come upon the Jewish people and upon the world. Is that really true? I mean, is it really that significant? Well, question. How many of these holy day tetrads, we'll use that as a term, holy day tetrads have occurred over the last 2,000 years? That's what we're talking about, 2,000 years. Will be 8. 7 have already occurred. The 8th one is coming this year, 2014 and 2015. Oh boy. Well, then there's another point to take into account, Bill, very seriously. Number 8, in biblical numerology, the number 8 is very significant, as some will leverage, and these prognosticators do, to indicate again that there is very justifiable reason to be concerned, anxious, and somewhat nervous about what's coming in 2014 and 2015. Because guess what? 8 means new beginnings, a first of the first, a new commencement. You know, number 3 is completeness, number 7 is perfection, number 6 is the number of man, 12 is perfect governmental beginnings, 8 is the first of the first. Something new is going to occur, something is going to happen, the commencement of something new. You know, God recreated the earth with 8 people, Mr. Noah and Mrs. Noah, and the husbands and the wives of his children. And that was a new beginning. You know, Noah was the 8th preacher of righteousness. Number 8, numerology. But in all due respect, the fact of it is that this has happened already 7 previous times, and yes, this is going to be the 8th in the last 2,000 years. So the question really is something going to happen on this tetrad? And you know, frankly, here's the answer. I don't know. Some will say, well, could something happen? Here's the answer. Yes, something could happen. We live in a dangerous world. I mean, let's face it, we're living in times like no other. We're in uncharted waters. The United States is bankrupt. Israel is cocked and ready to go and bomb Iran because of nuclear proliferation that Iran has shared with the rest of the world. I mean, any kind of knucklehead could do any kind of crazy thing at any time, any place. You don't even need a nation today to create a war or a world-class catastrophe on planet Earth. So yes, could something happen? Absolutely something could happen. You had a 6-day war in 1967 that occurred on Yom Kippur. So yeah, something could happen. But here's the real question you need to ask yourself. What if something doesn't happen? Well, you know what? You know what my answer to that is? If something doesn't happen, my faith isn't going to be affected. And there is the sad potentiality of something that has been going on for so long in the Christian culture that it's almost ad nauseum. And that is disappointment after disappointment and people getting all geared up in hyperbole and overexcitement about nothing. We know Y2K, we know the prophecies of Harold Camping and the Mayan calendar. My friends, let's get real. We know this blood moon that is being talked about and taunted are not the blood moons of Joel or the book of Revelation. We need to keep that in perspective. Get the booklet. We have one for you. It's free of charge. All you've got to do is hit our link there that's on the screen, as well as our website there at cgi.org. The booklet is called The Coming blood moons. What are they? And a CD we have offered, both are free, clarifying blood moons. Both of these are complimentary. It's such a subject, and there's no way I'm going to cover it in 10 to 15 minutes here on YouTube. You got to get these two pieces. Coming blood moons, what are they? And clarifying the blood moons. They will definitely be helpful to you. Hey, this is Bill Watson on YouTube. Looking forward to seeing you here again.